Brazil has been my nemesis year after year, not because the food has been bad, but because I have consistently, every single year, butchered the Portuguese. Am I going to get it right this year? Let's see. Hey everyone, we're back at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg for the 2025 edition of the Food and Wine Festival. The Food and Wine Festival is one of our favorite events of the year, so we're really excited to be back here. We're looking forward to seeing what the park has to offer this year. We have two goals in mind this year. Goal number one is to try at least one item from every food booth. We made sure to bring some empty stomachs for that because we're going to need the empty stomachs, we're going to need the room. Goal 1A though is actually to try to get one different item that we've never tried before from each food booth. That might be a little more difficult. Goal number 2, and this one might actually be the most difficult of all, is to try to get at least 90% of the food in my mouth and not on my mouth or on my clothes. So we'll see if I'm successful at doing that. That's going to be tough. Also, it seems like every time we visit the park, something is new. So we are going to make this a little bit of a mini May update video for the park too. So our sky ride is about to get back into the station, so let's get going. Of course, we have to start our visit taking a look at what's new inside the Emporium. In the main entrance, they've moved all their 50th merchandise. Over here, they now have the Busch Gardens General logo merchandise. But there is still something new over here. They have this new shirt design that matches the shot glasses we recently saw. Has Busch Gardens Williamsburg pennants on here and logos of some of their major rides. They have this adult size shirt in dark blue for $32.99. And they also have a child-sized version. The design's a little bit different here. It's got almost like a sash down the front. And the light blue child-sized shirt is $24.99. They've moved all the 50th merchandise back toward the back entrance to the store where they usually put all the dated merchandise. This is where I was expecting it to appear from the start. But there are a couple of new 50th merchandise, well, a couple of new merchandise items in general. They don't actually say 50th on them. They have this shoulder bag. This little shoulder bag here is $31.99. And they also have a clear backpack of the same design. As you walk into the back entrance, you can see they have this cool new 50th medallion here greeting you as you enter. Also on this side, there's one new item, this brown Busch Gardens shirt. The brown shirt is $34.99. They also have, I believe this hat design is also new. This one actually is 50th anniversary, unlike the other merchandise we saw. So that hat design is $32.99, and I believe that there is another color for the same design. We need to go see if we can check some of the other stores to find that design because I don't see it in here. As they've been doing with their several events they've had over the last year or so, next to the sweet shop they've added the Food and Wine Festival Upgrade Center. At the Upgrade Center you can purchase your tasting lanyards as well as grab a book, a pocket guide to the event. They also will have this big stand-up map you can take a look at, everything they have available. This is basically what is shown inside the pocket guide, but the pocket guide will have a few more details that aren't on this map. You can also get a digital guide at this QR code. Because it's the first thing you come to in the park, the Upgrade Center line will get pretty long, but keep in mind you can pick up both your pocket festival guide and your tasting lanyard at pretty much every food booth in the park, so you don't really need to wait in this line unless you really want to. On the back side of the Upgrade Center, they've put up these cool little Food and Wine Festival logo signs. I believe these were brought over here from when they used to have them during the Food and Wine Festival section of Ireland. They don't have them in Ireland anymore, so now they've put them up here. Here's a quick look at the 2025 Food and Wine Festival Pocket Guide. You can see the event runs Thursday through Sunday going through June 22nd. So we'll just give you a quick overview. Since we'll be looking at each of the booths more in depth, we don't want to linger too long on this, but we do want to open it up and just flip through it real quick. So here's the whole map where everything is located, as we saw on the big sign out at the Upgrade Center. They talk about the sampler card, which we'll see in a minute. They have Virginia and Highland spirits on the first page. And then each page successively has a couple of different countries on it. It shows you everything that's new for 2025. And it's worth mentioning, we did also bring the 2024 Pocket Guide with us so that we can compare and contrast what's on the menu now versus last year. And it ends mentioning the wine tastings that you can have here, as well as upcoming events at the park. They have a QR code at the bottom that you can scan if you want to learn more about their events. Since the last time we were at the park, they've officially filled the water for Escape from Pompeii. Just in time. Look at that. So they are testing it. However, it's only testing right now. They have a couple of signs out in front letting you know it's closed for annual maintenance. Ride testing is in progress, just so people don't try to get in line, start asking questions, wondering why they see boats coming out. It's only testing today. It's good to see this ride splashing down again, even if it is just a test. Kind of a minor update, but the photo booth outside of Escape from Pompeii got a new skin on it. Now it looks like a nice, fancy, I don't know, Italian booth stand. I like the step in and the extra cheesy sign they put on here. We're going to do something a little bit different today. Instead of going to Virginia, which is the first booth that you come to as you enter the park, we're going to start with China, which is one of the new booths, and make our way clockwise around the park. This one is in Festa Italia and replaced Korea, which I'm kind of upset about because I really liked Korea's bulgogi, and they also had a really cool, tasty coffee drink too. But hopefully we'll be off to a good start with this new one. Let's take a look at the menu. They have pork bao, shrimp sumai dumpling, vegetable jiaozi, dumpling trio, and panda dessert bun. They also have a lychee mule as a cocktail. And also, this is our first look at the prices for the Food and Wine Festival samplers. They have a 10-item sampler for $70 or a 15-item sampler for $90. So the 10-item sampler breaks down to $7 an item. 15-item sampler breaks down to $6 an item. And there is tax on this, so the 15-item sampler will come up to close to $100. But keep in mind that we are comparing what we're spending on the sampler versus what we would pay in cash for these items. And these items in cash would also have tax on them, so it kind of evens out. So we're going to look at it as if they didn't have tax and just say the $6 per item versus what's actually on this menu. So here's a look at this 15-item sampler for the year. As I mentioned earlier, the 15 items are $90. With tax, it comes up to be $99.90. But of course, again, as all of the food, if you buy it with cash, it's also going to have tax on it. It's all going to even out. So really, it still comes down to about $6 an item. And of course, the back of the pass explains that you get 15 entrees, desserts, etc. But the important thing is it lists the sizes of the samples that you get on your drinks. The beer is 10 ounces, wine is 3 ounces, and the cocktails are 7 ounces. Non-alcoholic beverages are also 10 ounces. And of course, as usual, each of the food booths has its own informational signage out in front of it. So we'll take a look. Because China is a new booth, we'll take a look at this one. I'm probably going to gloss over the returning countries signs. If you want to see returning countries signs, you can go check out our previous videos so we don't have the same stuff in every single one of the videos. But here's a look. That was the drinks. Here's some Chinese cuisine.
Hold on tight, and we hope you enjoy your ride.
A little factoid at the bottom. And then one more side, I should say, about the region of China, which is somewhat obscured by a bush, so it's kind of hard to get a good look at what this text says. They're really doing a nice job with the decorations hanging down from above. When Korea was here, they had a bunch of Korean flags. Now they have lanterns as well for China. So Jen's starting off her food and wine festival with the pork bao bun for $8.50. That's a very picturesque bao bun. It looks just like what you would think a bao bun would look like when you picture one in your head. Jen wasn't super enthusiastic about the bun itself. She said it was a pretty standard steamed bun, but she really liked the inside of the bun. The pork, she said, was juicy, and you could see just how juicy it is looking in there. She mentioned that there's a sweet sauce in there that she really enjoyed the flavor of, so overall she really enjoyed this. The next booth that you come to making your way around the park is Turkey. Here, just as you're entering Italy, they have the Turkish flags hanging above. This one, a couple of years ago, replaced the Japan booth, which I cannot believe they would get rid of Japan, but Turkey ended up being pretty good. Let's see if it's still just as good this year. The turkey menu includes a new chicken doner kebab, which was not here last year. They have the beef and lamb doner kebab, which was here last year, both $9. They also have the mosaic pasta tarifi, the koban salatasi, and the simit, as well as some new wines, a Turkish Delight cocktail, and a refresher. Good. Here's just a quick peek at the turkey informational board, just to give you an idea, since this is only the second year that turkey's been here. So from Turkey, we got the new chicken doner kebab. Since we got the other kebab last year, we knew what we were getting into. We were expecting it to be on some kind of skewer with the name kebab, but it ends up actually looking more like a wrap. So we knew that this was coming this year, but it was really surprising last year that it was like that. So the chicken doner kebab is as messy as it is tasty. The chicken is really juicy. The vegetables give it a nice crunch. There's a lot of flavor in there, and the bread is, if you like pita, it's a very tasty pita. So there's a lot to like about this. I'm a big fan of this. The only problem is I'm off to a bad start getting most of it in my mouth. Like half of it fell onto a napkin because it's such a messy dish, so be prepared. Also, the paper they put around it is semi-translucent, so make sure you don't eat the paper. Side-by-side comparison of 2024 versus 2025. The new one is on the left, the old one is on the right. It tells you what's new in the book, so I wasn't really concerned with what was new. I just wanted to see what dishes were replaced by the new ones, and it looks like nothing was replaced from last year at Turkey. They just added the chicken doner kebab and kept everything else. Is there an update on the destruction of the flying machine? Peeking around the wall, not really. Looks pretty much the same as it did last time we were here. And then a little bit farther down through Italy, closer to the St. Marco Theater, is Italy, unsurprisingly. Again, more country flags hanging down in front of the booth. This is one of my favorite facades that they have here, though. I like that it looks like an old Italian house. The Italy booth has been here a while, but just in case you need a refresher of the information board, I'll just walk around here real quick. This year's Italy menu includes some returning favorites, the giant meatball for $9, the Maltagliati for $7.75. They have a new bruschetta, which is toasted Italian bread, garlic, tomatoes, basil, olive oil, and Parmesan for $7.25. And they brought back the lemon ricotta cake. And all of these wines are new for this year as well. From Italy, we got the Maltagliati, which is a pasta dish that's vegetarian, no meat in this. You can see the olives in there. They have nice big chunks of olives. The portion size, if I use my hand for size reference, the portion size is a little bit smaller than I was expecting, but also for pasta, the price isn't too bad. It's under $8 for this. So this pasta is a really balanced dish. The pasta is very tender, well cooked. The olives give a nice saltiness to the dish. The cheese adds a nice savory flavor to it. There's some capers in there too, which isn't mentioned on the menu that they add capers. We really enjoyed this, and for the price, you can't beat the cheap price for some pasta. We gave us a big thumbs up. We did have one Italian casualty on the menu for the bruschetta to replace. The caprese was taken off of the menu that was here last year. The wine tasting room in Italy has a sign mentioning a special event called Wine on the Rhine, where you can cruise on the boat down the Rhine River while having a wine tasting. It's a little bit expensive. We'll have to look up the price and put it in the video afterwards. If you're interested, here's the QR code. And then right at the far end of Italy, just as you get to the bridge to Oktoberfest, you come to the Sangria Garden, where, not surprisingly, their menu consists mostly of various sangria cocktails. They have a cucumber melon sangria, blood orange sangria, pineapple jalapeno sake sangria, and a sweet tea sangria, as well as a classic. They also have a sangria gelatin, which is alcoholic. Last year I had the pineapple jalapeno sake sangria, which I think was probably one of my favorite things that I had overall at the Food and Wine Festival in its entirety. I crave that again sometimes, but just for you, because we've had it previously, I'm planning on trying something different this time. So the first of our many desserts here is from the Sangria Garden, the Sangria Gelatin. Comes with a side of whipped cream and a nice slice of strawberry, and I believe there's some fresh fruit inside. The sangria is a rosé in this gelatin. You can see the real blueberries inside the gelatin. It has a nice berry flavor to it too, so the blueberries just add a nice tartness to the already berry flavor. So if you like berries, you'll really enjoy this. It's kind of like a giant Jell-O shot, basically, but a little bit fancier. I really enjoyed it, even though I haven't even tried the strawberry and the cream yet. I should mention that this bottom layer is a strawberry mousse, so it really adds to the strawberry flavor you're already getting from the real strawberry. So according to the guide, the casualty of the Sangria Garden was the Sangria Cupcake, replaced with the Sangria Gelatin. Also, the classic Sangria was new for this year. Kind of strange they didn't previously have a classic Sangria at the Sangria Garden. Crossing the bridge into Oktoberfest, you're immediately greeted with Oktober Taps, which has a nice list of draft beers for $15.99 a piece. Currently on their menu are this listing, though periodically the listing does change. I'm not sure whether it will be changing during the Food and Wine Festival or if it just changes as each event changes, but right now, at this current moment, this is your list. From Oktober Taps, Jen got the Squared Pants Sour from Two Silos Brewing Company. Nice golden beer. Jen said that the Squared Pants Sour is a very sour beer, which is good since it was billed as a sour. Big thumbs up from Jen. She said it was really refreshing, which is good because today is a pretty hot day, so it's nice to have a nice refreshing beer on a hot day. So yeah, she gives her, obviously, her thumbs up of approval. As I mentioned, the beers at Oktober Taps are always switching out, so everything is new at Oktober Taps. So, as it's no surprise, everything is a casualty from last year replaced with a new beer this year. Also, right by Oktober Taps is the Prost Patio, where for a limited time they are doing the Burgermeister story time. 4 show times a day at 12, 4:30, 6, and 7. So we're hoping to stumble by this again when that show is actually going on so we can check it out. I wanted to quickly add here that please check the Busch Gardens website for the most updated times. Their website did not list the 4:30 showtime, and we came back to try to catch that showtime anyway, and that showtime did not happen. So the website appears to be more accurate than the signboards they have out here.
I do love when the crowd goes moderately impressed. Oh, before we get started, Caroline, get out here. Story time. I just have to take a Caroline. Alright, so before we get started, some introductions are in order. First of all, I am Hasabier. Und I am Hasabier. Und I am Hasabier. Und I am Hasabier. And together we are Hasabiers. You may recognize us from the totally normal candy shop, which once again, I want to reiterate, for the upteenth time, is nothing front for a totally normal secret bar. Because there's no such thing as a totally normal secret bar. It's what we call an ox-themed bar. Definitely don't look up the Burgermeister highway online, because there's nothing there. What? Oh, okay. So, anyway, we decided to come out and show you all some classic German fairy tales. And then once again we realized that our German fairy tales, in their true form, are way too long and not all family friendly whatsoever. So, we decided to outwardly experiment a little. So, as we discussed in our meeting, we'll be telling the tale of Goldilocks and the 3 Hasabiers. No. As I said in my newsletter, I sent out last night. You read your emails? No, we are telling Little Red Riding Hood and the Big Bad. I know, because I wanted to tell the story of Cinderella. You are honestly wrong. They come out here for a German fairy tale, and there's no fairy tale more German than Hansel und Gretel. Yeah. Okay, no, don't worry about that. We're very professional and we know what we're doing. So there's only one way I know we can set up this in a timely manner. Don't fight! Guys, never said something for the killer. No, we can let the audience decide for us.
Oh, yeah.
So,
That's a bad
my Damen und Herren, I'm going to list off each and every one of these stories, and if you want to hear the story that I say, cheer and loud and make some noise for us, yeah. I need a delightful cottage.
Get up here.
Oh, I trained for this.
There they were, living in their delightful cottage with their adoring father. But the problem was, it wasn't just their adoring father. They also had a very mean stepmother. Oh, she made them do all sorts of chores, horrible chores. They had to do things like clean, generically, as well as cooking. They had to make all the meals. I mean, actually, that just sounds kind of like normal, not like horrible. Maybe you meant it, a really terrible chore. Taking out the rats, and terrible rat problems apparently, and also cleaning the whole entire house from the roof to the floor with a toothbrush. It's so terrible. All right, good. And as they walked backwards through the woods, suddenly they realized they'd been walking for way too long. It must have been at least 10 years! Sorry, we don't have that on the show yet. Give me 5 seconds before they decided to give up because it had just been too long.
5 seconds and 10 years, a big difference
there. There, on the horizon, they saw a bridge. I was going to say, like, house would be, like nicer, like, I mean, stop. They saw a lady in the woods, and the lady was next to a
big house.
A big house. It took them 5 days to make their way back home, but they finally got back to their own cozy cottage. Bon bid them a fond farewell. And when they got home, they realized that in these last 10 months, Their wicked stepmother, who didn't like them very much, had gone off to Italy to pursue her acting career, and they were free to live happily ever after.
Right across from Verbolten is Island Freeze, which is here year-round, but they have a special menu for the Food and Wine Festival that includes chicharrones, corn and black bean salsa, a key lime tart, 3 different beers, as well as several frozen cocktails, which is what this stand is known for, their frozen cocktails. Each of the frozen cocktails are $14.99 a piece. From the Island Freeze, we went a little bit of a different direction and got the chicharrones instead, which are pork rinds, and these particular pork rinds come with a chipotle dipping sauce in this little cup right here. Jen was a fan of the chicharron. She said that the chicharrones themselves have a little salt and pepper seasoning on them, which really adds to the flavor. The dip itself is actually refrigerated, so it's a pretty cold dip, so don't expect anything warm or even room temperature. She said it has a slow heat that creeps up on you, but when it creeps up on you, it hits you really hard. Also, you can see, compared to the amount of chicharrones they give you a lot of dip, so you can use the dip very liberally on your chicharrones if you choose. So for Island Freeze, it looks like the casualty from last year was the strawberry daiquiri is no more. And the new item is the key lime tart, as well as the Purple Rain frozen cocktail, which is what replaced the strawberry daiquiri. And of course, the 3 draft beers are also new. The draft beers always seem to switch out. Speaking of Verbolten, you may be wondering, is there any good news? Unfortunately not. Still being worked on. One thing to note in Oktoberfest, if the Prost patio is full, there aren't a whole lot of tables here, so you may have to use what Disney fans know as an Epcot table, aka the top of a trash can. Looks like all of their photo booths might have gotten new skins on them. This one outside of the Oktoberfest arcade has this new skin on it as well. Step in and smile. Looks like a log cabin almost. I like these skins they've been putting on these. It also looks like the exterior of the arcade itself got a new paint job. The actual figures and signage and things on here don't look like they've been touched, but the oranges and the blues and everything, they look like their paint has been touched up. It looks much more vibrant than it used to. Or maybe it's just the fact that it's a really sunny day, I'm not sure. Same with the game booths that are along the way here. Kind of hard to tell for certain with the Festhaus because we're a little further away, but there may have been some new paint done to the facade of the Festhaus as well. What do you think? Let us know in the comments if you think it looks like the Festhaus has been repainted. Coming around the freshly painted arcade in Oktoberfest, you come to Herbal Infusion, which has a few different dishes. The herb cheese spread, a roasted garlic tortellini pesto salad, a mint chocolate creme brulee, which sounds great, and a lavender lemonade refresher, as well as a couple of cocktails. I'll zoom in on the screen because it's pretty reflective. I know it's kind of hard to see, but here's a close-up look of the menu. From Herbal Infusions, which is a booth we usually skip, we got 2 things this time. We got the herb cheese spread. The herb cheese spread comes with some prosciutto as well as some different types of crackers. And we also got the mint chocolate creme brulee, which is cold to the touch, though they did use a butane torch to actually light the top on fire as you stood there and watched. That was pretty cool to see. Right off the bat, we should mention that the spread is also refrigerated, so it comes out pretty hard and it's not easy to spread on the crackers. If you're a fan of prosciutto, look how nice this piece of meat looks. You wouldn't know this is coming from a theme park. So we both thought that the cheese was really good as an herbed cream cheese. Some of the crackers are herbed as well, which is a nice flavor combination. I like that they have several different types of crackers to get several different flavor profiles. You get a nice salt with the prosciutto, so depending on your palate, you can have whatever kind of flavor profile you like with this. So it's a really nice touch. We enjoyed it. So this is the first time I've ever actually had a creme brulee ever in my life, and I have to say I was very impressed by this. I love the toasted sugar on top. It adds a nice sweet flavor, but it does, the mousse that's down here is already actually kind of rich, so it's very sweet. If you're not into super sweet things, you probably wouldn't like this. I, however, have a major sweet tooth, so I really enjoyed it. The mint really punches you hard when you bite into this. It might even overpower the chocolate a little bit. You can see it's clearly very chocolatey, but yet that mint is still super strong. I really enjoyed this. Jen thought it was a little bit too rich, so she didn't like it quite as much as I did, but I give this a big thumbs up. Looks like Herbal Infusion is the biggest change year over year. It looks like they've entirely changed the Herbal Infusion menu. Everything there is new, and everything at Herbal Infusion is new this year, and everything that was there last year is also gone, so they've completely switched things up. At BarKastle Spirits, the bar across from DarKoaster, they have some savory foods as well as a few cocktails and draft beers. They have the Virginia Pimento Beer Cheese Dip, a bourbon chocolate tart, as your 2 wines that they have here for $11.99. 4 different cocktails, including a Big Bad Mule, which I believe is a reference to the Big Bad Wolf, and some draft beer for $15.99. From BarKastle Spirits, Jen got the Big Bad Mule, which is a take on a Moscow Mule, which is one of Jen's favorite cocktails, so I'm not too surprised that she chose this one. So a typical Moscow Mule, if you don't already know, typically has ginger, lime, and vodka in there. For this, because it's German, they added some Jägermeister in addition to those 3 other ingredients. So Jen said that she's really enjoying the flavor of this. They did need, she believed, to add more ginger to it. There's typically ginger beer in the drink. According to the Food and Wine Festival guide, there's just ginger in here. They didn't specifically say ginger beer, so I'm not sure what kind of ginger is actually in here. Apparently, according to Jen, doesn't come through as well as your typical mule, but overall she thought it was a pretty good drink. So at BarKastle Spirits, the savory treats are the same as last year. The difference is the Big Bad Mule is new. The casualty, because of the new Big Bad Mule, is the Hibiscus Paloma that was here last year, is now gone. And of course the draft beers and wines have switched out as well. Your gratuitous DarKoaster wait time update at 1:30 on a Saturday. It is a 60-minute wait according to the chalkboard. They made sure to mention the quick queue on here with the QR code now. In years past, the Festhaus has been part of the Food and Wine Festival. It's not included on the map this year, so it's not officially part of the Food and Wine Festival. However, they do have a small bar in the front and a really large bar in the back in the Brauhaus that have plenty of beers to choose from, in addition to the ones out here if you can't find anything out here that you fancy. Wolf's Revenge update, there's still a huge fence blocking the view. However, they have a sign out in front now, chalkboard, beware, do not enter, wolf on the loose, but it still lets you know that you can get to the picnic area to the right. They have, however, you can see over the fence, they've added the bell, which they had in front of the Festhaus for a short time. We never got to get to the park while the bell was here, so this is actually our first time seeing the bell in person. They've also added in front of the entrance gate to the ride, they've added this little structure here that you'll walk through to get on the ride. So making some progress. Also, the most important update, they've officially announced that pass holder previews to ride Big Bad Wolf will be May 16th through the 18th. So it'll technically officially open then, and it'll open to the public on Friday, May 23rd. So that's the big news here. Leaving Oktoberfest and entering Germany, you first come to Jamaica, which is another one of my favorite designed booths along with the Italy one. There used to be a nice little lighthouse thing over here, but doesn't look like it's here this year, probably because it really didn't serve any purpose other than being decorative. After not having any of these information boards over in Oktoberfest, here's a refresher on the Jamaica one, real quick. Jamaica menu includes the Jamaican patty, a Caribbean shrimp salad, which is new this year, jerk chicken slider, a Toto rum cake, a ginger limeade, some beers, wines, frozen cocktails, and cocktail on the rocks. Bunch of Jamaican flags hanging above, and it leads you to a three-dimensional parrot on the sign. That's another thing I really like about this, a three-dimensional parrot. So from Jamaica, we got the jerk chicken slider. It comes with a side of slaw. It definitely is a slider. It's a really tiny sandwich, but the side is a nice addition here. Not too many of these dishes actually come with large-ish, I guess relatively large sides. So surprisingly, the coleslaw is a vinegar base, not like a sweet mayonnaise base. So if you're a fan of vinegar, you'll probably like this coleslaw. I didn't entirely mind it, but I'm not a huge vinegar fan, so I didn't like it as much as other people may have liked it. Jen definitely did like it though, because she is a vinegar person, but it's just okay. It wasn't too terrible. The sandwich, I don't know why I'm surprised since it's Jamaica, but it is very spicy. I didn't expect it to be so spicy, but it has a very high spice content. So be prepared for that if you order it. It does have some tomatoes down there to cool it off, but if you notice, there is a lot of bread to meat because a ton of the meat actually fell out of the sandwich and into the tray. So it is a very messy sandwich. You're probably going to end up eating most of this with a fork. So that's my only real knock. If you like spice, though, you're really going to love this sandwich if you're okay with a meat to bread ratio that's a little bit off. So here's the comparison for Jamaica. The new Caribbean shrimp salad has replaced the gamba fritters. They are the casualty for Jamaica. They also added the Jamaican Me Smile cocktail as well as their wines and draft beers. So really it looks like the only major change is the loss of the gamba fritters. Down at the bottom right of the Welcome Center, they've added a little food and wine photo op booth here. You can have your own personal food and wine kiosk there selling burgers. Jen's doing a great job flipping patties and also eating them. Now we're in New France for Brazil. Okay, here we go. Here's a look at the Brazil menu. On their menu they have the Cordeiro, the Churrasco, the Linguiça, the Abacaxi, and the Arroz Doce Cremoso. I hope I actually got those right this time. I was trying. They also have some wines, one cocktail, and a refresher. The cocktail, just for fun, is a mango caipirinha. I hope I'm saying that one right as well. They have all the little Brazilian flags hanging from the vines, leading to the very colorful facade for the Brazil booth. Also a big fan of this Brazilian flag they have. It's made out of what I assume are blueberries, lemons, bananas, and possibly banana leaves. It's a really nice touch. I'm glad they brought that back. Here's a quick look at the Brazil information board. It's just as colorful as the facade of the booth itself. Okay, minor gripe. Why in the world are they being so inconsistent? They're just punching whatever number they feel like. Some people don't have hole punches and they're crossing numbers off. They're not doing it in order, and it's driving me a little bit crazy. So from Brazil, we got the new Cordeiro, which is a lamb with mint, garlic, lemon, and a spicy cilantro mint chutney, which I assume is the green on top. I don't know if Cordeiro was supposed to be this way or not, but the piece of lamb that I got was super fatty. It's very hard to cut through. It's really tough to eat. It's juicy, I'll give it that, and the mint chutney, the cilantro mint chutney, is delicious. I could probably eat that chutney just by itself. But the lamb itself, if it hadn't been so tough, I really would have enjoyed it, but as it is, I can barely cut through it, which makes it really hard to eat. So in Brazil, the good news is no casualties. They added the Cordeiro to the menu and they did not remove anything. Of course, some of the alcoholic beverages are new, but in terms of actual entrees, nothing has been removed since 2024. In France, on the backside of Lafritte's garage, in the place that used to be the French Quarter, is now the second new restaurant here, second new food booth. It's Poland. So it has obviously Polish food. We'll take a look at their brand new menu. Here's the new Poland information board. They cover their cuisine. The region of Poland. And Polish drinks. Poland's menu consists of a kielbasa, pierogies, and a kolaski. They also have a couple wines, a Mad Dog shooter, and a strawberry rhubarb kumquat refresher. I do like the facade a lot, but unlike most of the buildings at the Food and Wine Festival, this one is like this year round, with the exception of the Poland sign, of course. Polish flags are now hanging from the vines overhead. We were very excited for Poland's menu, so we actually got three things here. We got the pierogies, which come with caramelized onions and sour cream on top, the kielbasa, which comes with sauerkraut and a brown mustard, and the kolaskis. In the kolaski, there are two different types of jam. The top one is apricot, and the second one down there is a raspberry jam. So for the pierogies, they are very difficult to cut into. But once you actually do cut into them, the potato that's in there is really tasty. The sour cream is nice and cooling, and the actual caramelized onion, I have to say, onions are one of the things I hate eating the most, but for the channel, I actually ate some of the caramelized onion, and I have to say, it actually tasted pretty good. I was actually impressed by it. I'll probably end up eating the rest of it by the end of that, so that's saying a lot. So Jen said the first bite of the kielbasa was a little bit greasy, but her second bite was a lot better. So far the sausage has been pretty good. She's not really a fan of brown mustard, so she didn't really like that much, but she said it does go well with the sausage. So if you're a fan of the brown mustard, you'll probably like it. The sauerkraut also has little pieces of sausage in there, so you get a little bit extra meat there. Unlike in Jamaica, where the coleslaw was a little bit too vinegary, she said that this sauerkraut was not vinegary enough. So that's a little bit of a knock against it. So kind of on the fence about the kielbasa. Okay, so here's the thing about the kolaskis. If you go into it expecting a cookie, you're going to be disappointed. Because going in, we originally thought they were going to be like Linzer cookies, just looking at them. But if you go in expecting to taste a scone, you'll probably really like them. They basically have the exact same texture as a scone with some jelly in the middle. The raspberry one did not have that much jelly, which is a little bit disappointing, but the apricot one had a ton of jelly. So hopefully if you like raspberry, you'll get lucky and they'll give you one with more jelly. But the only knock I would give it is the lack of jelly on the raspberry one. Otherwise, they actually tasted really good, as long as you're okay with a more bready texture, not really a cookie texture. For Poland, of course, it's replacing the French Quarter. I have to say, I do kind of miss the beignets, but I would rather have Poland there than the French Quarter, because the French Quarter is semi-American, doesn't really fit the theme as well as Poland does, so I'm happy to have Poland here. The stage in France has become the Food and Wine Festival stage. Has showtime Saturdays and Sundays, 3 showtimes a day. Here's the full schedule of what's coming up. This week, it is Cinder Cat, both Saturday and Sunday. Next week, by the time you see this video, the next bands that will be up are the Melissa Quinn Fox Band and Forest Hill.
out of Richmond, Virginia. You can find us on Instagram as Cinder Cat RBA. All right, thanks for having us.
Although the Belle Wine Bar doesn't actually have a special menu for the Food and Wine Festival, they are a location on the map where you can use your Food and Wine Festival lanyard. So even though we're really not wine people, we're going to get a wine glass here and try it out, just because we said we would. So from the La Belle Wine Bar, we decided on a sparkling rosé. You can see the bubbles here. So it's a 3-ounce pour, so for size reference, my hand, you can see it's smaller than my hand even, and it's, yeah, look at the size difference there. But yeah, 3-ounce pour, and it is actually chilled. Most of the wines we've gotten at theme parks have been room temperature, so it's nice to see a wine that's chilled. So this wine's a little bit on the dry side with a hint of like a champagne type of flavor. Jen enjoys it for the most part. It's not the best thing, but that's pretty good. I, on the other hand, can tell that I'm really not a wine person. Now that I've tried multiple different varieties of wine, I'm still not a huge fan of it. I do like the fact that it's sparkling. Now, I think I prefer the sparkling wines to the non-sparkling wines. The signboard is up in France announcing most of the bands that are going to be appearing at the park for the concert series. They have Matthew West performing this weekend, followed by the Commodores, and you can see the rest of them. There's a couple that are still to be announced down there. They have a QR code over here if you're interested. The concerts start at 7 p.m. on mostly Saturdays, maybe only Saturdays, I'm not sure. Heading into the Lorikeet and Wolf section of the park, you come to another nicely themed food booth, the Mexico booth. Love the wolves and other animals that are on the side of that. The Mexico booth features a barbecue pork taco, a crispy shrimp taco, or a shredded beef taco, all for $7.25. Or you can get all three of them in the taco trio for $18.75. You can also get the Tidewater white sauce and chips, which the Tidewater white sauce is a Virginia favorite white salsa that I'm not very familiar with, so I'll be interested to try it out for myself. They also have a sopapilla cheesecake bar if you want some dessert, and a non-alcoholic agua fresca. Interesting to note that while most country-specific booths have their country flags suspended above them, this one has these colorful flags instead of the Mexican flag hanging above. Here's a quick wrap around of the Mexico information booth, just in case you needed to see it again. As I chase Jen around the booth, the information board, I should have said. So from Mexico, we're trying both the Tidewater white sauce and chips, which you can see the white sauce comes in this little cup here. And also the agua fresca, which is, the flavor is hibiscus tea and lime. So both of these are $6 a piece, so we decided not to use any punches on our lanyard for these and instead just straight up pay for them with cash. And then continuing past Mexico, as you come toward the entrance to the Lorikeet Glen, they have the Margarita Booth, which obviously serves a bunch of different types of margaritas. Here's a look at the menu. They have all of their drinks on ice. They have prickly pear margarita, watermelon margarita, mango, passion fruit, and lime. They also have a couple of beers as well, O'Connor Brewing Company and Young Veterans Brewing Company. From the margarita stand, Jen decided to get the passion fruit margarita with a salt rim. So as far as the chips are concerned, I'm pretty sure they just came out of a bag, no big deal. Pretty much expect that out of a theme park. The white sauce, we have very differing opinions on the white sauce. Jen is very sensitive to cilantro, and she tasted that right away in this sauce, so she did not like it. I, on the other hand, I thought it was pretty good. It could have used a little more heat. It's not a very spicy sauce, but it's really creamy. It has a nice little tang to it. It's a very unique flavor, something I'm not used to dipping my chips into, but I don't dislike it at all. The agua fresca is, as I mentioned before, it's a hibiscus flavor mainly with some lime. The lime doesn't come through very well. I assume, I don't really know what hibiscus tastes like, to be honest, but I assume this has a strong hibiscus flavor because I do taste something kind of, I don't know, fruity, I guess. I don't know, I'm not really sure how to describe it. It's a sweet flavor. I like it. I just don't really, I can't describe it that well because it's not a flavor I've tried before. So Jen enjoyed the margarita a lot. She said it was nice and sweet. So the drink does come with salt on the rim and not sugar. So with sugar, it probably would have been too sweet, but the salt really added to the flavor and she enjoyed it a lot. So comparing the two Mexicos from years past, this was last year's Mexico and this is this year's Mexico. It looks like the only difference is they added the Tidewater white sauce and chips as well as the taco trio, but they did not remove anything. It looks like the menu from last year here is otherwise the same as the menu this year. The agua fresca is new and they did replace that with they replaced the horchata with that. So drink wise there was a change, but in terms of actual dishes they just added and didn't remove. And much the same for the margaritas as it was with Mexico. This was last year's listing for margaritas. And this is this year. They added the mango margarita and the passion fruit margarita, but didn't remove. However, they did make a bit of a change. You can see last year's margaritas, a couple of them were frozen. They are now on the rocks. So they changed the format of a couple of margaritas, but they didn't remove any, just added a couple. In the usual photo op spot in front of the abandoned stage, they do have a photo op here, but surprisingly it's not for Food and Wine Festival. It's actually for Cinco de Mayo. It's a really surprising sign to see here. Over in front of the Wolf Haven, I'm assuming just for this weekend, they have a signboard out in front. That's a little too zoomed in. They have a sign out in front that says Cinco de Mayo and talks about Mexican wolf culture. That's pretty cool. And then just before you get to Ireland, you come to the cool Hawaii booth. I really like the thatched roof up here. Got the Hawaiian flags hanging up above. And then at the far end, they even have a tiki bar. Here's a look at the menu for Hawaii. They have the local mocha, the Kahlua pork slider, a spam slider, coconut and macadamia chocolate tart, as well as some beers, wines, and cocktails, as well as an ube tea-aid refresher. I love that in this area for Hawaii they scatter these tiki totem poles and what are made to resemble tiki torches but are actually just lights all around the area. They themed this area one of the best themings of any of the countries slash, I guess, states at this park. Here's a quick lap around the Hawaii sign. This one is a very tight fit over here in a corner. So from Hawaii, Jen got the Kahlua pork slider, which comes with a pineapple slice as well as a side of slaw. So yet again another dish that comes with a side, which is really nice. And once again, calling it a slider is pretty accurate. It's a pretty tiny bun. Jen said that overall the pork slider was pretty good. She said that the sauce that's on the pork isn't very flavorful, but she compared it kind of to a sloppy joe almost in terms of flavor. But she said that the pineapple on here did give it a nice little sweetness that it needed, so she thought it was pretty good. The slaw, she said, had some onions in there that actually gave it a little bit of a spicy kick, so that was a little bit unexpected, but she enjoyed that as well. Okay, comparing the two Hawaii menus, the only real difference that we've lost here is this hibiscus lemonade specialty beverage. That was replaced with the ube tea aid this year, which is new. They added the coconut and macadamia chocolate tart this year, but it didn't replace anything. All of the other options are what were here last year. Nothing was taken away. Crossing through Ireland brings you to the one and only Food and Wine Festival booth in Ireland, which is Africa. They took the Grogan's Grill building and turned it, put some African designs on here. They also put some thatched umbrellas over the seating. And because Africa has obviously multiple countries, they don't just have one country's flag up here, they have many countries' flags up here. It's a really nice touch. I really like what they did with the area. In the covered seating area, they also painted the poles in African colors and also put up some African designed plates, as well as this nice little photo op here of a giraffe and an elephant. They had this last year, but I'm really glad they brought it back. It's really cool looking. Here's a quick look at the Africa information board. I like that this particular side clarifies where each of the countries are located, where you're getting the food from, or where the food is designed at. Here's a quick look at the Africa menu. They have the peri peri chicken from Mozambique, the boba tea from South Africa, koshari from Egypt, and brand new, they have the puff puff from Nigeria. I will not make a joke. I will not make a joke about that name. I will not make a joke about that name. They also have some wines, cocktails, and refreshers as usual. So from Africa we decided on the peri peri chicken, which is pieces of chicken on skewers as you see here. It also comes with a side of rice with what looks like scallions with it as well. So the peri peri chicken wasn't quite what I had hoped. It was a little bit on the dry side. It basically just tasted like grilled chicken on a skewer, but there was a little bit of a spicy note to it. The spice wasn't too strong, hardly noticeable at all. I kind of regret eating this without any kind of drink. I don't have any water or soda or anything I'm eating this with, so a little bit thirsty now. On the other hand, the rice was really good. I could eat the rice all day. It had a lot of flavor, a lot of savory flavor, and I really enjoyed that. It was a nice plus up from just having the chicken. Africa was brand new last year, so everything on the menu from last year was new. There was unfortunately one casualty that didn't see a second year though, and that is the milk tart. The milk tart here was replaced by the puff puff, which is the new dish here. Everything else is the same between the two except for some of the wines as usual. They keep switching up the wines. And of course, much like the Festhaus, if you can't find anything you want in Africa, Grogan's Pub is open for some beer and other snacks. Interesting to note, I thought this was only temporary for St. Patrick's Day, but it looks like this is permanent. They've taken the Annie's Cafe name off the backside of Grogan's Pub where you would go to get your Starbucks. It's just a Starbucks that's unnamed now. Leaving Ireland and heading toward the Loch Ness Monster brings you toward Highland Spirits, mainly a whiskey location where they opened it just last year. Unfortunately, this screen right here should have the menu on it, but looks like the screen is turned off at the moment. Here's a closer look at what's on their menu. They have a single malt from Virginia, a Scotch, actually from Scotland, a bourbon from Kentucky. You can also get a tasting flight for $24. Each individual drink is $18. They also have a blackberry bourbon lemonade and an Irish buck cocktail, as well as a brown butter bourbon blondie. That includes a Jim Beam bourbon whiskey and walnuts. And then here's the flag that's above Highland Spirits. Is this, I'm not sure what flag this is. Flag of the Scottish Highlands? Do they have their own flag? Because I don't recognize this flag. If you know in the comments, let me know, please. So from Highland Spirits, we got the Blondie. It's a pretty good sized Blondie, but it is also $8. So I don't know if it's $8 good size or not. I'll have to try it. I have to say, just by looking at it, it looks a little bit on the dry side, but hopefully I'm wrong. So the Blondie, we didn't get a whole bunch of bourbon flavor in there. Also, it seemed like it was pretty hard to bite into, but probably because it's close to the end of the day and it had probably been sitting there for a while. So we'll take that into consideration. You might want to get this early while it's fresher to give it a try, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's always hard. I mentioned this earlier, but I wanted to emphasize that there are walnuts in this, so if you do have a nut allergy, it may be best to avoid this. But if you're nut allergy free and you enjoy a Blondie, you might like this as long as you're prepared for it to potentially be hard. And then last but not least, as we make our backwards lap around the park, we're ending with Virginia, which is actually the first food booth that you see after you pass through the UK. Here's a quick look at the Virginia information sign. Here's a look at the menu for Virginia. They have a Chesapeake style crab cake slider, a jalapeno and cheddar hush puppy, an apple crisp for dessert, a few different beers, couple wines, a cocktail, and a refresher. This is the only other state besides Hawaii that gets a booth at the Food and Wine Festival. And of course, much like Hawaii, Virginia has the Virginia state flags hanging above. Since it's later in the day, we now get to see these hanging vines, for lack of a better term, lit up with the lights that are attached to them. It really looks cool in here. I especially like the giant Virginia flag that's above the pickup window. So from Virginia, we got the jalapeno and cheddar hush puppies that comes with a Dijon mustard marinade for dipping. So we both really enjoyed the hush puppies, though to be billed as having cheddar in them, there should be a little bit more cheddar. They weren't very cheddar heavy, but the jalapeno came with it really good. It was nice and spicy, and add to that the spicy mayonnaise, the spicy mustard, I should say, that came with it. You get a lot of spice in here, a big kick of heat. So if you like heat, you'll really enjoy these. I thought they were pretty good. Checking out the last two comparisons before we lose light. The only difference is we gained the jalapeno and cheddar hush puppies. To make room for the jalapeno and cheddar hush puppies, we lost the bacon and cheddar hush puppies. So swapping out one flavor of hush puppies for another. And of course, again, the wines and beers are swapped out. For the Highland Spirits, we gained the brown butter bourbon blondie as a dessert, but we actually didn't lose anything. The other listing from last year is exactly the same otherwise. And of course, I always have to get the projections on the side of the globe when they change them up. They have a random pirate ship for some reason, but they also have the Food and Wine Festival logo up there. And then beyond that, they have the globe representing all of the different countries that we've tried food from today. So that was our look at the 2025 edition of the Food and Wine Festival. We hope you enjoyed seeing one or more things from each of the booths. We will probably never do that again because we are stuffed. Of course, by the time next year rolls around, we'll probably forget and do the same thing over again. I was going to end by giving you the tip of the fact that everybody entering the park will head straight for Virginia, so save it for last. But no, everybody exiting the park is also going straight for Virginia, so it's constantly crowded. So just keep that in mind. If you go to Virginia, there's probably going to be a line. But overall, we had a really great time. Also keep in mind there may possibly, if I remember, be a post-credit scene of sorts to this video, as I hope to get the Food and Wine Run 5K starting line and ending line, because it's happening tomorrow as of the day we're filming this, and we'll be participating, so we're really excited for that. We are hoping to show you what the starting and finish lines look like for that. So we hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and also subscribe to the channel. Every like and subscribe to big help to the channel. Also, please be sure to check out our Instagram page, which is appearing right over Jen's head right now. Right below that is our Threads handle, and then right below Jen is our email address. Please be sure to email us any questions, comments, concerns, constructive criticism. We read all of them, and we appreciate your feedback that you give. So thanks so much for watching. They have a live DJ here. Have Food and Wine logos everywhere for the race.
We're going to start at 90
Race starts right through Festa Italia. That's really cool.
If you want to move to a slower corral, feel free to do so.
And as the rain starts to fall down, there is the finish line right by the queue for the rapids. So I got what I came for, but I am very, very out of shape. So have a good night, everybody. Thanks for watching, but the fun's not over yet. Click the box in front of my face for another fun video, or click my tree to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss another video.